a faraway galaxy beyond the bright stars humans could ever see, there lived a proud and ancient race known as the Illyrians. Their queen, Seraphina, was known for her beauty, her strength, and her wisdom. Her silver-white armor shone brighter than the twin suns of her world, and her golden hair flowed like rivers of light. To her people, she was not just a ruler. She was their protector, their symbol of hope. But peace never lasts long in the universe. One quiet dawn, when the Illyrian city still slept under the golden haze, strange ships appeared in the sky. They were dark and sharp, shaped like daggers cutting through the clouds with deadly silence. The invaders came from a distant, forgotten sector, an empire that fed on destruction. No one knew their true name. To the Illyrians, they became known only as the Shadows. The Shadows attacked without warning. They burned cities, shattered crystal towers, and filled the air with screams and smoke. Queen Seraphina fought bravely with her army, her energy blade glowing bright blue, cutting through the darkness. Her soldiers, strong, tall, silver-skinned Illyrians, stood beside her without fear. But even courage has limits when facing endless waves of enemies. In the chaos, Seraphina's infant child, her only heir, was taken. A shadow craft broke through the palace shield and vanished into the void. She screamed as she chased the fading trail of light in the sky, but it was too late. Her guards found her kneeling on the floor, her armor cracked, her hands trembling. The queen of the Illyrians had lost her child. Days turned into weeks. The war dragged on. The once shining capital became a wasteland of ashes. The Illyrian army was powerful, but the Shadows fought like machines without souls. Seraphina led every battle herself, her heart burning with rage and grief. Yet no matter how many enemies she destroyed, nothing filled the emptiness within her. Rumors spread through the stars. They said the queen no longer smiled, no longer sang to her people. She spoke only of vengeance. The Illyrians began to lose hope, their spirits fading with each passing day. Then one day, a strange signal appeared on their long-range sensors. It came from a blue planet in a small solar system, a world called Earth. At first, Seraphina ignored it. What could such a primitive planet know about her child? Humanity was young and weak, barely capable of interstellar travel. But the signal repeated over and over in an unknown code. When translated, it carried only one message: "We found the lost one." The words echoed through Seraphina's mind. Could it be possible? Could her child have survived the Shadows and reached a planet so far away? She wanted to believe, but hope had long since died in her heart. Her advisors warned her. It could be a trap, they said. Humans are unpredictable. Their technology is old and fragile. They could be luring us. But the queen couldn't ignore the small flame that flickered inside her again. For the first time in many cycles, she felt something she hadn't felt since the day her child was taken. Hope. Seraphina ordered a small scout vessel to head toward Earth. Not a warship. Not a fleet, just one ship, silent and fast. Hidden under cloaking fields. She watched it leave through the palace window, her expression calm, though her hands trembled behind her back. Across the stars, on that small blue world, humanity was facing its own struggles. Earth was recovering from years of conflict and division. Soldiers, scientists, and dreamers worked together to rebuild what was lost. Among them was Captain Ryan Hale, a soldier-turned-explorer. He was brave but tired of wars that left only ruins behind. When Ryan first saw the small alien child, he didn't understand what he had found. The child was fragile, wrapped in strange silver fabric with pale blue skin and glowing eyes. The rescue team discovered the pod in the middle of a desert crash site, its energy core barely alive. No one on Earth could explain where the pod came from, or how the child had survived in space for so long. Ryan didn't care. The moment he saw the child open its tiny eyes and hold onto his finger, something in his heart changed. He promised himself he would protect the child at any cost. He had no idea that promise would bring him face to face with the most powerful alien queen in the galaxy. As stars aligned and worlds prepared to collide, two stories, one human, one alien, were about to become one. And neither side could imagine how this single act of compassion would change the fate of two civilizations forever. Ryan Hale stood in the desert heat, the sun beating down on his armor. Around him, the wind carried grains of sand that sparkled like tiny stars. The strange pod still lay half buried in the ground behind him, humming softly. Inside, the blue-skinned child slept peacefully, wrapped in the same silver fabric. Ryan had seen many strange things during his missions, but nothing like this. Back at the base, scientists and military officers surrounded the pod with scanners and machines. Their voices overlapped in confusion. "It's not human," said one. "No known DNA match," said another. "We can't even identify the material." Ryan stayed near the child, watching quietly. The child looked peaceful, even innocent. There was something almost human in the way its small hands moved while dreaming. Every now and then it made soft sounds like it was calling for someone far away. Ryan didn't understand the words, but his heart did. News spread quickly. The world had seen aliens before. Distant signals, unexplained lights, but never something so close, so real. The governments tried to keep it secret, but secrets don't last long on Earth. People began to whisper about a visitor from the stars. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Queen Seraphina waited. The scout ship she had sent toward Earth had not returned, but a faint transmission reached her fleet. It showed a human soldier carrying her child from the wreckage. The image was blurry, filled with static, but the Queen saw enough. The small blue face, the shape of the hands, it was her child. Her heart stopped for a moment. She touched the screen with trembling fingers. After all this time, after endless battles and sleepless nights, her child was alive. The Council of Illyria gathered around her, uncertain. "Your Majesty," said the High Advisor, "if the humans have the child, they might not understand what they possess. They could use it against us." Seraphina turned her golden eyes toward him. "Or perhaps," she said softly, "they protected what we could not." For the first time in years, her voice was gentle again. She ordered her ship prepared for a personal journey. The Council protested. "It's too dangerous. The humans might attack." But she raised her hand, silencing them. "If they meant harm," she said, "my child would not still be breathing." Her royal cruiser, the Starwind, left Illyria that same night, cutting through the blackness of space like a blade of light. It was not an invasion fleet, only a single vessel, fast, silent, and cloaked from human sensors. On Earth, Ryan was called to a private meeting. A general with a cold stare and gray hair showed him satellite images. "We've detected something approaching," he said. "Not a meteor. Something alive," Ryan frowned. "What kind of something?" "An unknown ship. It's slowing near the moon. It's not attacking, but it's watching." Ryan thought of the child. His chest tightened. "You think they're here for it?" "That's our guess," the general replied. "You were the first to make contact. You'll help us figure out what they want." The next day, under the cold light of dawn, the alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, a great silver arc glowing softly like moonlight. It didn't fire weapons. It didn't send threats. Instead, a calm voice filled every communication channel on the planet. "I am Seraphina, Queen of Illyria," the voice said. "I come not for war, but for what was lost." The message echoed through every command center and screen. People everywhere stopped what they were doing. For the first time, humanity faced an alien queen who spoke not of conquest, but of a mother's grief. Ryan stood in the observation room, watching the sky through the glass. "She's not attacking," he said quietly. "She's just waiting." The general crossed his arms. "No one sends a ship that big just to wait," but Ryan wasn't sure. Something in that voice, so calm, so full of pain, didn't sound like an enemy. He asked to speak with the Queen. At first, the request was denied. But hours later, the radio crackled and a strange melody filled the speakers. Then came her voice again, softer this time. "Human soldier, you have what belongs to me." Ryan felt a chill run through him. "If you mean the child," he said, "it's safe. We found it in the desert. We've taken care of it." Silence followed. Then the Queen spoke again. "You cared for my child when I could not. Tell me, human, what do you seek in return?" Ryan looked at the sleeping alien baby beside him, then at the stars beyond the window. "Nothing," he said. "Maybe just peace." There was another long pause. Then for the first time the Queen's voice changed. It trembled slightly, as if she was holding back tears. "Perhaps," she whispered, "you and I are not so different after all." Outside, the night sky shimmered. The Queen's ship began to descend slowly toward Earth's atmosphere. Humanity held its breath. Some feared invasion. Others whispered of miracles. Ryan only knew one thing for sure. The universe was about to change forever. The world had never seen a day like this. Every screen, every satellite, Every eye on Earth looked up toward the sky as the alien ship descended. It was like a silver moon falling slowly, glowing with soft blue light that painted the clouds in strange colors. People gathered in streets, on rooftops, and deserts to watch. Some prayed, some cried, some loaded their weapons just in case. The governments had already chosen a remote landing site, a dry valley surrounded by mountains. Soldiers and scientists waited there with nervous hearts, their equipment humming. The air shimmered as the massive ship came closer, its engines whispering instead of roaring. It touched the ground gently without a single tremor, as if the earth itself bowed in silence. Ryan stood near the landing zone, the alien child in his arms. The baby's glowing eyes were open now, calm and curious, as if it somehow knew what was about to happen. Ryan's chest tightened. He had faced war before, but never something that made his hands shake like this. A wide door opened on the ship's side. From the bright mist stepped figures, tall, graceful beings covered in silver-white armor. Their faces were pale blue, their eyes shining like crystal water. They moved with slow, careful steps, their weapons lowered but ready. At the center of them walked their queen. When Queen Seraphina appeared, even the soldiers forgot to breathe. Her presence filled the valley with an energy that felt both warm and cold. She was radiant, her golden hair glowing under the sunlight, her long cape flowing behind her like starlight. She looked strong, yet her eyes carried the weight of 1,000 broken knights. Ryan could feel that power even from a distance. For a moment he thought he was standing before a goddess, not a queen. Seraphina stopped at the edge of the field. The wind caught her hair as she raised her hand slightly, signaling her guards to stay back. She looked straight at Ryan. He felt the air around him grow heavy, almost alive. The human general whispered through the radio, "Do not move without orders." But Ryan couldn't wait. He stepped forward slowly, holding the child close. The crowd around him went silent. Even the machines seemed to stop. Seraphina's eyes widened when she saw the child. For a heartbeat, the proud queen was gone, replaced by a mother whose heart finally recognized what it had lost. Her lips trembled, and her hand pressed against her chest as if to keep her heart from breaking open. She took one step forward, then another, her silver armor catching the sun. Ryan felt her presence like a wave of emotion, sorrow, hope, love, all mixed together. When she was close enough, she spoke softly, her voice filled with both strength and pain. "Is it truly mine?" Ryan nodded. "We found the pod in our desert. The baby survived. I don't know how, but it did. We kept it safe." The queen's eyes shimmered with tears that looked like liquid light. She reached out her hands but stopped halfway, unsure if she was allowed. Ryan understood. He gently placed the baby in her arms. The moment her fingers touched the child's skin, a soft glow surrounded them both. The baby made a quiet sound. Not fear, not confusion, but recognition. The queen held the child tightly, whispering words in a language no human could understand. It sounded like music carried by wind. Everyone watched in silence. Some soldiers lowered their weapons. Others wiped their eyes. Even the general who had doubted the queen took a slow breath, his face softening. After a long while, Seraphina looked up at Ryan. "You protected my child," she said. "I owe you more than my people can repay." Ryan shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. I just did what anyone would." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Not anyone," she said. "Many would fear what they do not understand. Yet you chose to care. That makes your kind different." Behind her, one of the Illyrian commanders stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said quietly, "our sensors detect heavy human forces nearby. They are watching. This place may not be safe." The general spoke through the radio again. "We're not here to fight, but we can't let her just walk away with that child. We need to know what this means." Ryan looked at both sides. He could feel the tension rise again. Two worlds standing on the edge of misunderstanding. One wrong move and peace would vanish before it even began. The queen looked at him as if she could read his thoughts. "I did not come for war," she said softly. "But I will not leave my child behind again." Ryan met her gaze. "Then maybe we find another way. Let me talk to them. Let me explain." Seraphina hesitated, then nodded once. "You have my trust, human." The soldiers watched as Ryan walked back toward the human camp, his heart pounding. The alien ship behind him glowed like a sleeping star. He knew this was more than just a meeting between two beings. It was history unfolding before their eyes. The Queen stood silently, cradling her child. For the first time in many years, she smiled. The wind carried her whisper across the valley. "Thank you, child of Earth," she said softly. "Perhaps the universe still holds kindness." Above them, the skies remained still, a fragile peace floating between two worlds that had never meant to meet. But deep inside, something had already changed, and neither the humans nor the Illyrians could ever return to what they were before. The sun had set behind the mountains, leaving the sky deep purple and gold. The alien ship still rested in the valley, its silver hull glowing softly like a second moon. Soldiers surrounded the landing site, their eyes locked on the Illyrian guards who stood silently, never moving, never blinking. The air was thick with tension. A single spark could start a war. Ryan walked between the two groups, his heart heavy. He had spoken to both sides all day, trying to calm the fear that filled every corner of the camp. But peace was fragile, and trust was thinner than the air at dawn. Inside a large tent, Earth's leaders sat around a digital map. They spoke in sharp whispers. "We can't let her leave with the child," one said. "That baby could be the key to alien technology." Another replied, "We can't fight her either. One blast from that ship and this whole base is gone." Ryan listened quietly before stepping forward. "She's not here for power," he said. "She's here because she's a mother. If we treat her like an enemy, we'll make one." The room fell silent. The general stared at him. "And if you're wrong?" Ryan sighed. "Then none of us will be alive long enough to know." Outside, Queen Seraphina stood on a hill holding her child close. The stars above reminded her of the old days, before the war, before the shadows. Her people had once believed the stars were living beings watching over them. Now they only saw reminders of battles lost. Her advisor, Captain Reiner, stood beside her. "Your Majesty," he said quietly, "the humans are restless. Our sensors show their army preparing more weapons. This world is full of fear." Seraphina nodded slowly. "Fear is what destroyed my home," she said. "I will not let it destroy this one." She turned and looked down at the human camp. Her golden eyes softened. "Bring me the soldier," she said, "the one who found my child." Minutes later, Ryan was escorted to her by two Illyrian guards. He walked carefully, trying not to show the nervousness that twisted inside him. When he reached her, the Queen dismissed her guards and stood facing him beneath the glowing stars. "You have risked much," she said. "Even now your leaders doubt you." Ryan smiled faintly. "They doubt everything they can't control." Her lips curved into a small, sad smile. "So do mine." She looked at her child, now sleeping peacefully in her arms. "This little one has changed both our worlds, hasn't it?" Ryan nodded. "Yeah, and maybe. That's not a bad thing." Before she could answer, one of her soldiers rushed toward them. "Your Majesty," he shouted. "Our long-range sensors detect movement beyond the human perimeter." Multiple heat signatures, fast and large. Ryan's communicator buzzed at the same moment. The general's voice came through, urgent. "Captain Hale, we're detecting unidentified objects entering the atmosphere. Not ours, not theirs. Get back inside now." Seraphina's eyes narrowed. "The shadows," she whispered. Ryan froze. "The same ones who attacked your planet?" She nodded grimly. "They have followed the signal of my child. They will not stop until there is nothing left." The night sky suddenly lit up with streaks of red fire. Strange dark ships broke through the clouds, their shapes twisted and sharp like claws. Explosions shook the valley as human jets launched into the air, trying to intercept them. Alarms blared across the base. Seraphina's ship activated its defense shields instantly, covering the landing site in a dome of shimmering blue energy. Ryan grabbed his radio. "All units, fall back to the valley."
"Stay under the shield."
Humans and Illyrians ran together, ducking from falling debris. For the first time, the two races fought side by side, not against each other, but against a common enemy. Seraphina raised her hand and spoke in her native tongue. Bright symbols glowed across her armor as her eyes turned white with power. A beam of light burst from her gauntlet, striking one of the shadow ships and sending it crashing into the mountainside. Ryan stared in awe. "Remind me never to make you angry," he muttered under his breath. The Queen turned to him. "Protect the child," she ordered. "If I fall, humanity must keep what hope remains." Ryan nodded and ran toward the med tent where the baby had been taken for safety. Behind him, the battle raged like thunder. Explosions tore through the sky, painting it red and blue. The mountains echoed with the sounds of two worlds fighting as one. In the middle of it all, Seraphina stood like a shining flame. Every movement of her sword left trails of light. Her soldiers fought fiercely, their armor gleaming under the explosions. Humans covered their flanks with heavy fire. For the first time in history, the two races weren't enemies. They were allies. But deep above the clouds, larger ships appeared. Shadow war cruisers, darker than night, blocking out the stars. And in their center, a new signal began to pulse, one far stronger than before. Seraphina felt it through the force of her mind. Her heart froze. "No," she whispered. "They know. They're here for the child." The queen looked toward the base where Ryan was protecting her baby. Her instincts screamed to run, but her courage told her to fight. She tightened her grip on her sword and faced the sky. "If the shadows want my child," she said coldly, "then they will face a queen who has nothing left to lose." The battle for Earth, and for the future of both races, had just begun. The battlefield burned under a blood-red sky. Human tanks and alien soldiers fought side by side, their shadows flickering through the smoke and fire. The valley that had been quiet just hours ago was now a storm of chaos. Ryan Hale ran through the dust, his rifle humming with energy rounds. He shouted to the soldiers beside him, "Stay close to the shield! Cover the left flank!" Bullets and plasma bolts flashed past him like shooting stars. Above, Queen Seraphina moved like lightning. Her sword cut through the air, glowing white-hot. Each strike tore through a shadow drone, shattering it into dark mist. Her armor was scratched and cracked, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. She was fighting not as a queen, but as a mother who had something left to protect. The shadows came in endless waves. Dark metallic creatures with red glowing eyes and voices like whispers. No one knew if they were alive or machines. They attacked with no fear, no emotion. Seraphina shouted over the noise, "They will not stop until they have the child." Ryan ducked behind a fallen transport. "Then we can't let them near the base," he yelled back. Inside the medical tent, the alien child slept in a protective cradle surrounded by both human and Illyrian tech. The baby's tiny chest glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat made of light. None of the scientists could explain it. The energy readings from the child were growing stronger every minute. Dr. Elena, one of the human scientists, stared at the monitor. "Captain Hale," she called through the comms, "the baby's emitting some kind of frequency. It's reaching into space." Ryan's voice cut through static. "Can you shut it down?" "I don't think we can," she said, panic rising in her voice. "It's not mechanical, it's alive. The child is sending a signal." Outside, Seraphina froze mid-battle. She could feel it too, a vibration deep inside her mind. The same signal that once led the shadows to her homeworld. But now it felt different. She looked up at the dark sky where the largest shadow ship hovered. "They are not just following the signal," she whispered. "They are afraid of it." "Afraid?" Ryan asked, catching his breath beside her. "Yes," Seraphina said, her eyes glowing. "The shadows were created long ago by my ancestors, machines built to guard our empire. But they evolved. They turned against their makers, and now, my child carries the code that can control them." Ryan stared in shock. "You mean your baby can stop this war?" The queen nodded. "Or end everything." A massive explosion rocked the valley. The shadow warship began charging its main weapon, its core spinning with red fire. The ground trembled. Soldiers fell to their knees as the light from the ship grew brighter. Seraphina raised her sword. "Protect the child." Ryan grabbed a transport and drove toward the tent, his heart pounding. Every second felt like an eternity. The sky was raining metal. He crashed the vehicle into a wall, jumped out, and ran into the tent. Dr. Elena was shielding the cradle. "We can't stop it," she cried. "The baby's energy is sinking with the shadows. It's like it's calling to them." Ryan looked at the child, glowing brighter, its small hands moving as if trying to reach something unseen. "No," he whispered. "It's not calling them. It's trying to stop them." Outside, the queen's voice echoed through the air. She was speaking in her ancient tongue, her tone powerful and sorrowful. The glowing patterns on her armor flared to life, connecting her mind with the child's through the energy field. Ryan could feel the pressure building. The baby's eyes opened, glowing pure white. The light spread outward, passing through the tent walls, reaching the battlefield and touching the queen. In that instant, time seemed to slow. Every shadow froze mid-strike. The red light in their eyes flickered, then dimmed. The massive warship paused, its weapon dying down. The entire valley was filled with a strange silence. Even the wind stopped. Ryan stood in awe. "What's happening?" Serafina's voice came through the calm and clear. "My child is rewriting their code. The shadows are linked to its power. This is the final command to stop the killing." But something went wrong. The child's light grew too strong, shaking the ground. Machines overloaded, screens cracked, and soldiers fell to their knees, covering their faces. Serafina fell to the ground, clutching her head. "It's too much power," she shouted. "It cannot control it alone." Ryan ran out of the tent toward her. "Tell me what to do." "Hold the child," she cried. "Its mind is reaching for you. It trusts you." Without thinking, Ryan grabbed the glowing baby from the cradle. The moment his hands touched it, a surge of energy shot through his body, his vision filled with stars and memories that weren't his. Battles, galaxies, a mother's sorrow. He could hear Serafina's voice in his mind. "Guide it, human. Show it mercy." Ryan focused with everything he had, his heart racing, his mind screaming. "Stop the fight," he whispered. No more pain. No more war. The baby's glow turned softer, gentler. The wind started to move again. One by one, the shadows dropped their weapons. Their red eyes faded into nothing. Then, silence. The light vanished. The warship above exploded into dust. When the smoke cleared, Ryan was lying on the ground, the baby safe in his arms. The Queen stood beside him, her armor cracked, her face streaked with tears. She looked at him with pure gratitude. "You did it," she whispered. Ryan smiled weakly. "No," he said. "We did." But deep above the clouds, something still watched. Something darker, older, and far more dangerous than the shadows. The battle was over. But the war for the galaxy's future had only just begun. The valley was silent. The smoke had faded, and only the cold wind moved across the broken ground. Human soldiers stood beside Illyrian warriors, staring at the sky where the shadow fleet had vanished into ash. The world felt still, too still, like the universe was holding its breath. Ryan Hale sat on the cracked earth, the alien child asleep in his arms. The baby no longer glowed. It breathed softly, peacefully, as if nothing had happened. His body ached and his armor was scorched, but he was alive. Around him, men and women who had fought only hours ago were now helping each other, human and alien together. Queen Serafina stood at the center of the valley, her cape torn and armor dented. Her eyes were tired but bright. For the first time in years, she looked free of fear, free of rage. She turned toward Ryan and walked slowly to him. "You protected my child," she said softly. "Even when the stars burned around us." Ryan smiled, though his voice was weak. "Guess it just needed someone to believe in it." Serafina knelt beside him and touched the child's forehead. "It has power greater than any weapon," she whispered. "And a heart that still feels love. That comes from both of us, Illyrian and human." The baby stirred and reached out, touching both of their faces. For a moment, light shimmered between them. Not the fierce light of battle, but a warm glow that felt alive. Dr. Elena approached carefully. "Captain," she said, "we're getting readings again. The baby's energy is changing, calmer now, balanced. Whatever it did, it stabilized the Shadows network." Ryan frowned. "You mean, the shadows are still out there?" "Yes," the doctor said, "but they've gone silent. Every signal stopped at once. It's like they're waiting for orders." Serafina's gaze hardened. "Then we must make sure they never rise again." Before anyone could speak, the ground trembled. A deep hum filled the air, coming from beyond the clouds. Ryan looked up and then froze. A dark shape moved across the sun, massive and slow. It wasn't a shadow ship, it was something older. Serafina's face turned pale. "The origin," she whispered. "The first machine, the one that created the shadows." The enormous craft drifted above them, ancient and scarred. A voice like thunder echoed in every mind. "The code has awakened. The child must be taken. The balance must remain." Serafina held the baby close. "No," she said fiercely. "You took my world. You will not take my child." The sky darkened as beams of red light formed across the ship's hull. Ryan stood up, his heart racing. "Can we fight that thing?" The Queen shook her head. Not with weapons. It's too powerful. But my child can reach it. It carries the final command, the code that can end the origin. Ryan's eyes widened. If the child sends that command, what happens to it? Serafina looked down, silent. Then she whispered, "It will burn away with the code." "My child will not survive," Ryan's voice cracked. "No, there has to be another way." The Queen's eyes glistened. "There isn't. This is the price of peace." The child looked up at her as if it understood. The soft glow returned around its body, gentle, not violent. It reached one hand toward the sky. Serafina trembled. "I lost you once," she said, tears falling. "And now the stars ask me to lose you again." Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're not losing the child," he said quietly. "You're giving it a future, for everyone." Together they walked to the center of the valley. The humans and Illyrians gathered around, watching in silence. Serafina lifted her child into the air, whispering in her ancient tongue. The baby's light grew brighter, spreading upward, reaching the massive ship above. The red lights on the origin flickered. Then one by one they went dark. The great ship began to break apart, dissolving into starlight. The glow faded. The wind fell still. When the light cleared, the baby was gone. Only a small silver mark glowed on Serafina's palm, warm against her skin. She fell to her knees, silent tears tracing her cheeks. Ryan stood beside her, unable to speak. The Queen looked at the sky, whispering, "Sleep among the stars, my little one." The valley was quiet again. Then as dawn broke, a single ray of sunlight fell upon them. Serafina turned to Ryan. "Your people and mine," she said softly. "We were enemies made by fear. But your kindness gave me back my faith." Ryan looked at the rising sun. "Then let's make sure it means something." Days passed. The Illyrians and humans rebuilt the valley together. The shadows never returned. Serafina left her armies behind and built a great temple near the site, a place where both species could meet in peace. Ryan stayed to help, teaching her people about Earth and learning their ways in return. On quiet nights, when the stars filled the sky, Serafina would look upward, her hand over the mark that still glowed faintly. She could feel her child's presence, not gone but watching, and far above in the silent space between galaxies, a new star was born. Some said it was only light, but to those who believed, it was a promise that even in the darkest corners of the universe, compassion could still shine brighter than war. Humanity and Illyria had once been strangers. But from one child's sacrifice, two worlds found hope again, and so the legend of the alien queen and the human soldier spread across the stars. A story not of power, but of faith, love, and the unbreakable bond between mother and child.